They say that life is stressful. Well, that's a given. But why does it have to be so catastrophic? Why can't we learn how to not give up in hard times? Why can't we master our lives instead of merely surviving them? You see, while most people take pride in their ability to endure the challenges they face daily, there's a much more effective way to deal with stress. And this method was taught by one of history's greatest philosophers, Epictetus. So today, let's talk about how to handle stress the Stoic way. Welcome to the channel. It's said that your 20s are the best years of your life, but we don't really realize it at the time. And then once you turn 30, you start thinking about all the opportunities you wasted, mistakes you made, and wrong turns you took. As the late billionaire basketball player Kobe Bryant puts it, the biggest regret for the athlete is not whether or not they won the championship, but whether or not they gave it their all. The same goes for life. Most of us waste most of our lives just because we never tapped into our potential. And that's what the Stoics call living on the half. In fact, Marcus Aurelius opens Meditations by saying, "You could stop living right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." The key is to live deliberately, which means to wake up each day and actively choose what you will and will not put up with. And to achieve this, Epicurus had a powerful four-step process that starts with controlling your emotions and ends with the art of letting go. Step 1. Don't accept everything that life offers you. Epicurus teaches that not all events in life are created equal. He says, not all proposals for action are equally worthy of acceptance. What he means is that when you're stressed, you receive countless thoughts throughout the day, some helpful and others harmful. For instance, if someone insults you, you'll likely get angry and feel hurt. But Epicurus argues that anger and resentment are not things you should accept. In other words, you have the power to ignore them. So don't accept every thought that crosses your mind. Instead, ask yourself, is this thought helping me grow or is it just bringing me down? By doing this, you'll be able to avoid unnecessary stress and focus on what truly matters. But many people at this point might argue, what if the event is actually hurting you, like getting COVID or losing your job or breaking up with your partner? And to answer that question, Epicurus offers another piece of advice. He says, some things are in our control and others not. When it comes to external events like getting sick or losing your job, these are things that are not in your control. However, how you react to those situations is entirely up to you. This is what the Stoics call the dichotomy of control. Essentially, there are things we have no control over, such as the weather or what other people think. And then there are things we have total control over, such as our opinions and actions. So rather than worrying about the things you cannot change, focus your energy on the things you can. After all, as Epicurus puts it, it's not things that upset us. It's our opinions about those things. Step 2. Don't assume the worst. There's a popular saying, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It's the illusion of knowledge. What this means is that most people think they know everything about a situation, but in reality, they only have a limited amount of information. So what they do is they make assumptions to fill in the gaps. But this often leads to misunderstandings and unnecessary stress. For example, let's say you're running late to meet your friends for dinner. On the way there, you start thinking, maybe they're already sitting there eating without me. Maybe they're talking about how unreliable I am. Maybe they think I'm a bad friend. Now, all of these thoughts are just assumptions. You don't actually know what they're thinking. You're just making things up in your head based on limited information. This is what Epicurus calls the obstacle to wisdom. We often let our imagination run wild, and we end up creating all sorts of problems that never even existed. To overcome this obstacle, Epicurus suggests practicing mindfulness and focusing on the present moment. He says, don't dwell in the past, don't dream of the future, focus on what you're doing right now. So next time you find yourself stressed out, ask yourself, am I letting my imagination run wild, or am I staying grounded in reality? Because as Epicurus wisely put it, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Step 3. Use reason before you act. Emotions are like thieves in the night. They strike when you least expect it, and they can wreak havoc in your life if you let them. But the Stoics believe that emotions are not bad in and of themselves. In fact, they argue that emotions can be powerful allies, helping us make decisions quickly and efficiently. The key is to use them wisely. And that's where reason comes in. Reason is the ability to think things through before you act on them. It's the voice in your head that asks questions like, is this really necessary? Will this help me grow? Am I acting out of fear or love? By using reason, you can keep your emotions in check and make sure they're working for you, not against you. For instance, let's say your boss criticizes your work. Your first reaction might be to get defensive or angry. But if you take a step back and use reason, you'll be able to respond in a calm and collected manner. You might realize that your boss is only trying to help you improve and that their criticism is actually a good thing. By using reason, you'll be able to diffuse the situation and come out looking like a hero. But here's the catch. Most people don't use reason. Instead, they let their emotions dictate their actions. And this leads to all sorts of problems. You might lash out at your boss, even though that will only make things worse. Or you might retreat into a shell and let your anxiety consume you. Either way, you're letting your emotions win. But remember, your emotions are not your enemies. They're simply messengers trying to get your attention. By learning how to use reason, you can become a stoic master of your emotions instead of a slave to them. Step 4. Let go of things that are not in your control. As we discussed earlier, there are things in life that are within our control and things that are not. When it comes to dealing with stress, it's important to focus on the things that are in our control. Things like our attitude, our effort, and our willingness to adapt. One way to let go of things that are not in our control is to practice acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It simply means acknowledging the reality of the situation and choosing to make the best of it. For example, if you're stuck in traffic, instead of getting frustrated, you can accept the situation and use it as an opportunity to listen to a podcast or catch up on some phone calls. Another powerful tool for letting go is forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning or forgetting about the offense. It means releasing the negative emotions like anger and resentment that are only hurting yourself. By forgiving, you free yourself from the burden of carrying around pain and anger. And lastly, you can practice detachment. Detachment doesn't mean becoming uninterested or indifferent. It means recognizing that you have a choice in how you respond to events. You can choose to focus on the positive aspects of your life and find joy in the present moment. By practicing acceptance, forgiveness, and detachment, you can free yourself from the shackles of stress and worry and start living a more peaceful and fulfilling life. So there you have it, the 4-step process to deal with any sort of stress according to Stoicism. If you apply this philosophy in your own life, you'll not only be able to handle any type of stress, but you'll also be able to thrive in the face of adversity. Because as Epicurus famously wrote, it's not events that disturb us. It's our opinions about those events. So remember, brothers and sisters, the obstacle is the path, and the path is the obstacle. Epicurus would say, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. So go out there and start your journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.